QRM Private Living 5521, Rio de Janeiro, City, Federative Unit, Rio de Janeiro, National State, Brazil, 11 January 2022, South America. We will have a conversation here, very serious. First of all, we will take a look at the Brazilian Constitution and maybe request if you do observation at private living, considering procedure has sometimes authorization and sometimes this going by unfair pressure and situations used to protect your criminal scams. And if you go deeper at the private living by this procedure, all linked with abuses and risks, to make an entrance inside the private living as research lab or something like this. And it's very recommended to consider request this information if you do this when you have nobody at home, and if you change elements or set evidence by at person in the local that you are doing this entrance, or by remote access. And we will observe that our Constitution on Article 5, Item 5 says that you have the right to be responsiveness against unfair threats and risks. And by diffuse interest, consider the consumer law. If you make an entrance inside my space and we have interest on it, and you did this as a conjunctural failure, you can suffer an invasion. On Article 12, I have the right as property, which implies my intellectual asset inside this research lab. Did you got in touch with any history or any industrial secrets? The house, Item 11, you can violate. And 12, you can violate the secret element of the communication, inside the communication, the value inside the communication. You only can do this by phone calls and under the authorization of the judge, since the judge, as part of an integrated system, failure associated with the crime, especially the financial crime by overpays, which implies transnational organized crime, and white-collar crime by silence. Law 12,850, Article 1, 2, and 3, plus white-collar crime law, Brazil, Law 7,492, Article 1, 4, 14 at least. The Constitution says on Article 41 that the law will have the punishment against the attempt against the rights, freedom, and basic rights and guarantees. And this law can be international, can be an American law. For instance, when you did the violation of industrial secrets, you can be sent to a prison. If you had a case opened in Ohio as complained about the violation of a mail account, you probably will be there. The article, our Constitution says on Article 33 and 34 items, Article 5 items 33 and 34, that you, international authority and law enforcement, and interest on my private effort as independent research can request information. It's free by a petition. You can ensure the protection of data by the item 72 with an instrument named habeas data. On item 59, you can do this by your private effort as corporate effort, international or by law, for instance, the secretary or the Mr. Mike Pompeo, if has interest that this can do this, and you can have this private action against the crimes or the transnational organized crime, public corruption, now uses on FBI, since inside this research and inside this security forum, and offer the criminal petition, but considering your effort on America, and you will apply the American law in Brazil against the organized crime in Brazil associated with transnational organized crime by international fields of association like communication and finances and public contracts during the international period 2012-2021, current 2022. And the item 61 on Article 5 says that no one will be sent to jail except by the order of a judge, and sometimes the international judge or a judge as the order a judicial power, and especially when you are in blazing act committing international crime or being at the transnational organized crime. The prison must be reported to the judge, in this case the international judge, when you have, for instance, strike against our local authorities or the board member in Brazil integrated as a coalition to commit abuses and such a trust based on public finances and request investment all around the globe and have misusage of all elements. Then we will check that you will be declared guilty on Article 57. You will be innocent since your evidence shows you as your innocence. You can have supposed this, but when you have everything against you, you are all guilty. It's an authority of circumstances and facts. And we will quit here. We will observe that indeed this is your accusation. That situation here is a lot of effort that we are, observing about you, considering this schedule 2021 that you must use because you do the violation of privacy. Corruption, criminal association, transnational organized crime, fields as economic fields, and having the risks against the immaterial property in the same way like the intellectual asset or the elements inside the research. This was a model offered, and we had the design of transnational organized crime and other issues or the arguments. Current effort on 2022. This situation here will be kind of very simple to understand, and we will maybe request you an information. Did you receive it or got in touch with tax fraud and financial frauds on agribusiness? Considering the association and risks as having a new design as the distribution of the land, which is one element of the productive system. Are you in silence about this in the same way you are at the case involving the autocracy on Africa with money in Brazil during the carnival, because we will have the interest at the carnival? Did you, Brazil, criminal offender? We will check here, indeed, our situation, which was the distribution as Brazilian, has one federative unit, 27 states, more than 5,000 counties. This field here will show the transference from public department by contract setting the coalition, like we could have our local houses here as law, the justice system of Rio de Janeiro, and even maybe on Saquarema City, and by fractal as integrated. You probably will consider do this using the digital payments as payroll and other crimes considering the fintech. But if you have signatures on budget, of course that the association at the public office or department by contracts and instruments to have the distribution of money sets upon the scam. This is a criminal organization and goes from the deep inside of public area, which has integrated failure as control, implying the organized crime entirely. And if you are associated by failures, considering the large numbers of nations that you have, 197, plus the immigrant, 198, plus the organized crime, no nationality, no gender, no career, 199, plus the steering committee as control, 200. Database Sigma collective data as procedure. Indeed, we are doing this. We will request this information for you, but if we had this information by the research considering the inference and the database Sigma's approach, if you give us this information, we have no value. The first thing that we will check that we have this situation here, which is our environment square Brazil, a lot of small circles inside, that got integrated during a very specific period and set a circle replacing the top, which close the square, and this has a name as top down corruption scam. And when you do this, you have fractal distribution of your interest by representative numbers. Our department will put circles inside this square, and then you forgot that you all are integrated by failure in a unique instrument for financial control named budget. And the cretinism is do or use this kind of instruments for control to commit crimes. Then we had another situation, which was I have my worldwide network as the internet as itself, which has the distribution all around the globe, considering the one up to 197 nations, and at the nation 55 space 021 Rio de Janeiro, 2 seats 21 and 22. I had a situation going on at the very first moment, considering the transference of signal that has now my LAN as local access to the network, which has a provider. I have one provider, or I used to have in Rio de Janeiro for the access, and I have one for mobile. I have one provider at Saquarema City, and the same provider for mobile. And at that time we are complaining that the local access we had the local access and the routers that go to the house. We will have a modem, and this modem will in general have a router, and this router will spread the signal at the house. And at that time we are complaining that we have machines logged at the router, which is connected at the modem, which is connecting to the transference from the local access. These two levels here are the level as interconnection to the LAN network, and the router is the most interconnected area that will be the gateway for your machine have the access to the digital space. And then at that time, let's suppose that you have the Windows as Microsoft provider of my system, and the security was made by the Windows Defender plus the Norton security, and I have no VPN. Then we will check that you can, for instance, have installation of things and broadcast the signal of my modem considering my machine. And then you will set a second level as transference of signal from my machine based on my router signal with the connection at the modem to get the access at the local area. If the provider is involved at the scam and they do the complaint, of course that will be a big mistake. In the same way, if you put my entire family under an oppressive situation and they had allowed got forced to allow you to have the access real-time monitoring of my privacy, my space, and you consider yourself very smart. Indeed, you are very brave as an entire conjunction against a single citizen, violating basic rights and guarantees. Then I had to cut this contract with the company, the provider at Rio de Janeiro 51. I have 5502121. I have no access as the modem. I have no only the cell phone, and you are kind of under pressure. You are uncovered, and the view is uncovered, and you are showing yourself little by little as a criminal system going inside the institution. In a very specific moment, you top-down corruption scam got qualified as 5-5 internal value, corruption, purpose, or main premise, criminal. Hierarchical distribution: the first interest is the corruption, the second one the criminal purpose associated and doing things as coalition, as we could observe at this chart. And we had a complaint made by a deputy as chair on Rio de Janeiro, named Cgq Campos, I think, and we had no solution, and many others. Brazil is a joke. Then our 5-5, which is the interest of our nation, our population, and even the foreigners to have the regular economical index, the transparency at negotiation and contracts, all things that you violated and do not respect. Then you are so desperate that you decide to do this with instead have more than I have my cell phone. And you broadcast the signal of my cell phone, sometimes connected with the modem. Sometimes I do not have the connection. I do not have this area here, and this is my cell phone, and you broadcast my cell phone signal and my connection with the internet, carrying service of Google, maybe have the login as my account, have the simulation and showing your criminal intention as myself, doing an anti-crime research. I think that this is sabotage. You committed industrial crime to offender. And if this is your scam as deep web, considering the connection at the internet and the modem and the cell phone, maybe your information have no value. This case maybe was opened at Ohio by the Ohio Federal Bureau of Investigation, considering Chicago, Frisco, Omaha, the interest of State Department, America, the Security Forum, the CIA, the Department of State, America, and we consider have the prison of you all by segmented areas highlighted with a series of crimes as consequence, and evidenced from this. And the last thing, if this situation which is a failure situation, is inside the transnational organized crime, do you consider that the transnational organized crime is failure? And if this crew here, as top down, had the continuity as privilege and benefits during the period of construction, investigation, and hearing procedure, are they a possible, you know, dripper about the criminal scam, criminal failure system? What do you think? We'll finish here, all report by law. Have a nice week.